Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into that all-too-familiar feeling that you're constantly running out of time. Well, it turns out it's not just in your head. It's this complex dance between how your brain is wired and the world we've built around ourselves. So, let's break down the hidden forces that are hijacking every minute of your day.
You know the feeling, right? That constant pressure to just hurry up, this sense that you're falling behind everyone else, or that you've totally wasted a day. If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. It's practically a feature of modern life. But where does it actually come from? Let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get why we feel so rushed, we have to start with a habit that's become second nature for pretty much all of us: media multitasking.
We all do it, right? Think about it. You're scrolling through social media while a movie is on, or you're trying to check emails during a work call. In fact, young people in America spend over 7 hours a day consuming media, and a third of that time is spent multitasking. But as we're about to see, this comes with a hidden cost.
Here's the thing that most people don't realize. Our brains are not built to multitask. Not really. We are fundamentally single taskers. So when you think you're juggling a bunch of things at once, what your brain is actually doing is switching its focus back and forth and back and forth really, really fast. And all that switching creates a kind of mental friction.
And you know what? This mental friction, it actually has a name. Every single time you switch from one task to another, your brain has to pay something called a switch cost.
Now, this isn't just you feeling a little scattered or unfocused. No, this is a real, measurable drop in your cognitive performance. Study after study has shown that this switch cost is pretty much unavoidable. It's just how our brains work.
Think about it. When you stay focused on one single thing, you get into a rhythm, right? A state of flow. It's efficient, but the moment you start switching, you lose all that momentum. And the result? Well, the task you're working on takes longer to finish, and you're way more likely to make mistakes.
This right here gives you a little peek under the hood at the chaos going on inside your brain when you try to multitask. You've got these three key brain networks, and they're basically at war with each other. The frontoparietal control network is trying its best to keep you on track, but the other two, the dorsal and ventral attention networks, are getting pulled every which way by all the distractions around you. It just creates this state of total cognitive overload.
Now, you'd think that the more you multitask, the better you'd get at it, right? Practice makes perfect. But here's the crazy part. Research often shows the exact opposite. People who are heavy multitaskers can actually be worse at tasks that require focus than people who do it less. And get this, they can even be less efficient when they're trying to do just one thing at a time.
So, we've seen how our own brains kind of struggle with the demands of modern life. This internal switch cost makes our time feel less effective, less productive. And that feeling gets 1,000 times worse when you live in a world that literally puts a price tag on your time. It just amplifies this feeling of being constantly rushed.
This quote, it's more than just a famous saying. It really represents a massive cultural earthquake that started way back in the Industrial Revolution. And it completely changed how we, as a society, think about time. See, before the Industrial Revolution, most work was task-based. You'd work until the job was done, whether it took 2 hours or 10. But as people started moving into factories, they stopped selling their skills and started selling their time. And suddenly, every single hour of the day had a specific dollar value attached to it. And this time is money mindset, it is everywhere in the modern workplace. Hourly wages, billing clients with timesheets, measuring productivity per hour, all of these things just constantly reinforce the idea that time isn't just passing. It's a resource to be squeezed for every last drop of value.
Okay, so we've got our multitasking brains struggling to keep up, and we've got a society that puts a price on every minute. But there's one more piece to this puzzle, and it's a really personal one. That feeling we all get that time seems to speed up as we get older.
It's a feeling I think we can all relate to, right? And it's not just a feeling. There's some really fascinating mathematical models out there that help explain why this happens.
So what this graph is showing us is that even though the clock on the wall ticks at a steady, constant pace, our experience of that time is a completely different story. When we're young, we're just accumulating new experiences like crazy. But as we age, that rate of newness slows way down, and that's what creates this curve you see right here.
A big reason for this is something called the newness effect. When you're young, everything is new and exciting, and your brain is working overtime creating all these rich, detailed memories. But as we get older, life naturally becomes more routine. We have fewer of these novel experiences, so entire years can just kind of blend together and collapse in our memory.
And this has a direct impact on how fast time feels.
Because we're having fewer brand new experiences, each year feels shorter than the one before it. In fact, as this graph shows, some models suggest that time can feel almost 7 times faster at age 80 than it did back when you were 20.
So let's just recap for a second. We've got a brain that is not built for multitasking. We've got a society that tells us every single minute counts. And we have a natural, built-in tendency for time to feel like it's speeding up. It's really the perfect storm, and it can lead to a very specific kind of anxiety.
We're talking about that constant feeling that you should be productive, that you're racing to hit certain life milestones by a certain age. It's that nagging fear of falling behind, and it's a massive source of stress for so many of us.
In this anxiety, it's fueled by a whole mix of things. You have the external pressures from society, of course, but our own internal psychology plays a huge role too. Whether it's a tendency toward perfectionism or even past experiences that make us feel like we're constantly playing catch-up.
But the good news is you can fight back against this feeling. There are real, practical things you can do. Mindfulness helps ground you in the here and now, instead of worrying about a future you can't control. Setting smaller, realistic goals can turn a mountain of dread into a series of totally doable steps. Learning to say no helps protect your most valuable asset, your time. And maybe the most important one, you can learn to challenge those nagging thoughts about where you should be in life.
So at the end of the day, your sense of time is shaped by this combination of your brain's limits, society's expectations, and your own perception. But by understanding these forces, you can start to take back some control. You can begin to make more conscious, more intentional choices about how you spend your most precious, finite resource. So the real question is, in a world that is constantly trying to sell your attention, how are you going to invest your time?